how Villa's wide midfielders Buendia and Ramsey caused United major problems, why Ten Hag's side struggled to play through Villa's press as well as breaking them down in the middle third, and what was the ultimate reason for Manchester United's loss in this game. So from the start of the game, what was apparent was that Villa were capable and willing of playing out of the back under pressure. Villa would drop into either a 2-4-2-2 shape in the build-up, with Douglas Luiz and Dendoncker both trying to find space to offer a forward passing option for the centre-backs. Eriksen and Van der Beek would man-to-man press the Villa double pivot, with Eriksen stepping onto Douglas Luiz, leaving Casemiro as a single pivot in a 4-1-4-1. United's pressing system saw them positioned high up the pitch with Ronaldo and the four behind vertically close. However, United didn't press from this position, allowing Martinez, Mings and Konsa time on the ball, with Ronaldo instead looking to cut the passing lanes back across goal. And United's main issues out of possession stemmed from this. As like Ronaldo and Van der Beek in the centre, Rashford on the right was very reserved in his pressing, not sitting high alongside Ronaldo, and so this lack of pressure on the ball from central positions allowed Konsa and Mings, but mostly Mings from this left side, to carry the ball out and find a forward pass to break the lines of United's defensive shape. Combine this with the Villa centre-backs having the space and ability to play these incisive passes, and Buendia and Ramsey playing more as central attacking midfielders and wide players, sitting in the half space between the lines and looking to drift into space in behind Van der Beek and Eriksen wide of Casemiro, and this caused United a major dilemma out of possession. See, Ramsey and Buendia were starting out wide and moving in field later on in the move, and this meant that United's fullbacks Shaw and Dalot had a dilemma about whether to hold their position in that natural fullback spot or follow Ramsey and Buendia when they dropped into the space in behind the United midfield. They could follow when Buendia and Ramsey would drop into these deep central positions, keeping the press vertically compact behind the high front five and cutting off the direct pass from the centre-backs in behind the United midfield, but this would leave a massive space behind them on the flank, giving Villa's fullbacks the opportunity to make third-man runs off of Garnacho and Rashford into this space, which is what happened as Shaw and Dalot, despite some hesitancy, would follow the two Villa attacking midfielders deep, with Matty Cash and Luca Digne being very well versed in making those overlapping runs, and this is why Villa did have joy progressing the ball down the flanks. And we saw Villa's opening goal come first from being able to progress the ball into United's half down that left flank. As Digne receives the ball in a wide position, because Dalot's starting position was so deep alongside Buendia, he can't move out to Digne before he's able to receive the ball and open up his body. From here, Ollie Watkins ahead seeks to take advantage of the space that Dalot has vacated, allowing Digne to knock the ball down the line. Watkins receives the ball with his back to goal and Lindelof is up close against him. Now from here, Lindelof needs to do everything he can to force Watkins away from goal and stop him being able to turn inside and find a forward pass, whilst the rest of the United backline and midfield line needs to be wary that Lindelof is on Watkins and that there's now a massive space in the defence alongside Lisandro Martinez. Lindelof gets bullied in a physical tussle with Watkins, who played the role of a deeper lying forward so well in this game, with his link play being very reminiscent of Harry Kane's, just obviously not to Kane's level, but the similarities are there. As Ollie Watkins turns in field, you can see that on the left side United have a problem, as with Lisandro Martinez having to hold his position in the defensive line, covering the space that Lindelof has vacated, United now have a 3 in that back line, and Villa have a spare man on the far side. What should happen here is that one of Diego Dalot or Casemiro needs to read the situation earlier, recognising the potential danger that can develop, and one of them should be dropping temporarily into that back line to provide United with some cover until Lindelof can get back into position. But I also think that Eriksen or Shaw on the left have to call Garnacho back to pick up Ramsey, which may not be something that Ten Hag would want to happen all of the time, but sometimes in a match the players need to be able to think for themselves and think quickly in order to adapt. Because United weren't able to restore 4 men across that back line, when Watkins turns with the ball, Leon Bailey moves off of Lisandro Martinez. Knowing that with Lindelof up the pitch, Martinez can't follow him into the deep position, and so this allows Bailey to initially create the space for himself, and then with Martinez having to move out after Ramsey has received the ball, there is a massive space to Martinez's right for Bailey to burst into, and Ramsey's pass is perfectly weighted, and Bailey races away before picking the perfect finish past De Gea low and hard into the far corner, giving Villa the lead inside 7 minutes. This goal really came from Villa's excellent ball progression, from working the ball out to Lucas Digne in the middle third, to the ball down the line, Watkins' hold-up play, and ability to find a forward pass into the final third, which were all fantastic and took advantage of what I would say was United's lack of cohesion at the back. Maybe it was because Varane wasn't in the back line, as I do think he would have done a lot better against Watkins than Lindelof did, and a lot of the leadership in that defence does come from him, but in reality I still think one of the senior figures, Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro or Luke Shaw, who who can all see the play developing, have to be the player to either drop into the vacant space in that back line in the case of Casemiro, or instruct players ahead of them to temporarily drop whilst Lindelof was up the pitch, in the case of Luke Shaw and Lisandro Martinez. So it was a lot of these small individual mistakes that then led to this major opening for Villa, who did work it well and took the goal well in the end. But United also had issues with Villa's pressing when they had the ball, and this was where the foul came from that gave Digne the free kick to put Villa 2-0 up. Villa pressed in a narrow 4-1-3-2 shape, with Dendoncker pushing up alongside Buendia and Ramsey, enabling him to man-to-man press Casemiro. And so in United's build-up, Villa pressed in a narrow pentagon shape with their front five, with Douglas Luiz sitting in behind. Villa would press aggressively but not erratically, with the front two waiting till the rest of the defensive shape behind them was in position before leading a press on the centre-backs, and I felt that United's 2-3-2-3 possession shape made it even easier for Villa to press them effectively. What I mean by this is that the positional shapes of the two systems paired up perfectly, with the two Villa forwards pressing the two United centre-backs from that central position while simultaneously cutting off the passing lane into Eriksen and Casemiro behind them. And so alongside Dendoncker pushing up onto Casemiro, that passing lane from the centre-backs into the centre of midfield was blocked off, forcing United out wide from where Buendia and Ramsey were waiting to assert a press, allowing Villa's diamond-shaped midfield to squeeze over, keeping the horizontal compactness in defensive shape, and closing off United's short passing options. The foul for the free kick comes from United being sloppy and lethargic as Lindelof plays a pass over to Lisandro Martinez, who makes a rare mistake on the ball with Bailey applying pressure to him. He loses possession, and from here it's Shaw's late tackle on Ramsey that led to the conceding of Digne's free kick, which happened to be struck perfectly to give Villa a 2-0 lead. Out of possession in general, Villa were excellent, and it stemmed directly from that narrow shape, which allowed them to cut off all the forward passing options through the centre of the pitch, but I felt like United didn't do enough to sufficiently break them down. In order to play out of the press, United needed to play quicker, bouncing the ball into Casemiro or Eriksen, drawing Buendia and Ramsey in field, and then playing the ball straight out to the fullbacks where the space was, enabling them to then carry the ball forward. By going from the centre-backs out to the fullbacks directly, this was predictable, enabling the wide Villa central midfielders Buendia and Ramsey to then anticipate the pass out to Shaw or Dalot, position themselves and wait to apply the pressure immediately. By going through the central midfielders out to the fullbacks, Buendia and Ramsey would have to be drawn in field before the ball then goes out wide, thereby giving Shaw and Dalot more time and space when they receive the ball. Whilst they would press in a 4-1-3-2 shape, Villa would then drop into a 4-4-2 when United had established possession in the middle third, and so it became United's 2-4-3-1, which could also move to a 2-3-4-1 depending on Shaw and Eriksen's positioning, against Unai Emery's two banks of four with the two forwards sitting in front. The way to play against a 4-4-2 defensive shape is firstly to try to stretch that midfield four as much as possible, creating space in between the lines in doing so, and this can be done with the fullbacks starting in line with the Villa midfielders before then pulling out wide and moving up the flank, forcing Villa's wide midfielders to follow the movement down the line, stopping a 2v1 against the fullback alongside Garnacho or Rashford, who were also keeping their width on the flank, which in turn causes them to detach themselves from Dendoncker and Douglas Luiz in Villa's midfield double pivot. And because Villa's wide midfielders were willing to follow United's fullbacks when they moved up the pitch, a lot of the time we did see United have the ball in Villa's half, and Unai Emery's side would be defending in what resembled more of a temporary 5-3-2 system, with the wide player on that side tracking the run of Dalot or Shaw. Now United's possession shape and even their strategy wasn't incorrect, but I thought that individually United moved the ball far too slow across the pitch, giving Villa the time to shift across and maintain a narrow defensive shape. What United needed to do more often is work the ball out to the fullbacks or winger on the flank, and when Villa's defensive shape shifts across to that side, United then needed to be looking for a ball backwards to Casemiro, Eriksen, Lisandro Martinez or Lindelof, whoever is in that optimal position to receive the ball, for them then to switch the ball efficiently with a long pass out to the fullback or winger on the far side, giving United a 2v1 down the flank, as the Villa wide midfielder on that side wouldn't have enough time to shift across and cover the fullback's movement forward, as they would when United moved the ball with more passes at a slower tempo and overall just taking longer to circulate possession. And so I think the main reason that United struggled to break down Villa's defensive block was because of how slowly they moved the ball from side to side, despite them being able to control possession for most of the game. And we did see this, as whilst Villa did only manage an XG of 0.58, United recorded an XG of just 0.52, with an XG as low as 0.13 throughout the whole second half. United were able to work the ball into these sorts of wide positions in Villa's final third, but they didn't have enough interplay or the right movement down the flanks to create anything of substance. And we did also see Rashford and Garnacho struggle to beat Cash and Digne in 1v1s. Dalot and Shaw were left to whipping crosses from that narrow crossing position, which I spoke about in my analysis of the West Ham game last week, which will be linked below, but with Konsa and Mings being dominant aerially and Emi Martinez being comfortable coming out and claiming crosses, United had little joy when they tried to create via this aerial route. So overall, this was a game of very few chances. It was just that Villa had Bailey, Luca Digne and Ramsey to take those chances when they came. But I think you'd have to say that Unai Emery won the tactical battle both in and out of possession, halting United's progression of the ball through the centre of the pitch and forcing them into aimless crosses into the box, whilst also using Buendia and Ramsey as wide playmakers who would drift infield to take advantage of the space in behind Van der Beek and Eriksen, either side of Casemiro, which alongside the movement of the two fullbacks down the flanks, as well as Ollie Watkins' fantastic hold-up play, this was how Villa were able to exploit United's defensive system. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, check out the description for more videos, and put your thoughts on the game in the comments section as well.